If you ever visited the city of Auchi and didn't hear about Mr. Extra, then you honestly missed out on a whole documentary worth of gist, because Mr. Extra wasn't just a man, he was a brand, a lifestyle, and a walking scandal wrapped in perfume and shirts. However, before he became known as Mr. Extra, Emmanuel Essien was just a regular young boy from Ekpoma with big dreams and even bigger charm. He grew up in a not too little home, being the last born of 5 boys, and the one everyone said was too fine for his own good. His mother pampered him, his older brothers shielded him, and the girls in his neighborhood used to find reasons to borrow salt and matchstick from his mother just to see his face. Emmanuel later moved to Auchi, and by the time he turned 30, he had built a small real estate business. Nothing too fancy, just enough to keep his car clean, his wristwatch shiny, and his phone forever vibrating. Then he got married to Abigail, a sweet and kind woman from Benue. She was smart, prayerful, and had the patience of Job in the Bible. He met her at a wedding in Makurdi, and they casually danced to an old P-Square song. Emmanuel couldn't stop staring, and as expected of Mr. Extra, by the end of the wedding, he already had her number. By the end of that month, they were dating, and surprisingly, by the end of the year, she was his wife. When he brought her home to Auchi, everyone thought Emmanuel had finally settled down, but no, they were wrong, because that was when the extra in him came out more. Emmanuel liked attention, he liked being admired, and he especially liked young girls who called him daddy with the vibes. But he never planned to be a serial side chick sponsor. It just happened. It started with one message here, one lunch there. One send me small something later, and boom, he was in a full-blown situationship. He told himself, it is harmless. I take care of home, I take care of outside. So it is a balanced equation. But it wasn't balanced at all. It was messy, and Abigail soon noticed. Of course, she would. First, it was lipstick stains on his shirt collars. Then, the mysterious late-night meetings. And then came the female perfume with different floral scents, none of which she owned. One evening, as he came back from an inspection meeting, she stood by the doorway looking at his shirt. There was red lipstick near the collar. Emmanuel, you wore this shirt to the office? He smiled. Yes, babe, why? She pointed to his collar. Do you still sell houses, or you now sell hugs? He laughed. Babe, it's probably from the taxi or the office girl. Abigail looked at him. You hugged the taxi? At that moment, Emmanuel went mute because he knew he had screwed up. Abigail tried. She prayed, she fasted, and she begged. But Emmanuel was a lost sheep. He became slippery, always smiling and always lying. He locked every app on his phone as if it contained nuclear codes, and even while sleeping, he would hold his phone like a newborn baby. One day, Abigail got bold. Emma, can I check something on your WhatsApp? He looked up from his food. For what? I just want to copy that Bible quote you posted. He snatched his phone from the table before she could even finish. Let me send it to you then. She stared at him. Emma, your WhatsApp is always private. Do you run CBN from there? He raised his voice. So you don't trust me again, Abigail? She smiled sadly. Can you even spell trust? Unfortunately, Emmanuel's behavior worsened with time. He started disappearing on weekends. He told Abigail he was going for business in Abuja, but someone saw him buying suya in Benin with a young girl. One Sunday morning, while dressing for church, Abigail sat in front of the mirror and sighed. "Oh God, I'm tired." Emmanuel came out in a designer kaftan. "You are not ready yet?" "I am not going today," she said. He paused. "Why?" "I have cramps." Emmanuel shrugged and left, but Abigail didn't have any cramp. She was just tired, and maybe it was time she purged her soul. That morning, she cried, but it was not the weak kind of crying. Rather, it was the kind where the soul leaks. Then she stood up, took a notebook and began writing. "From today, I will stop praying for Emmanuel. Now, I will start praying about him." Abigail wasn't the type to shout. She believed that silence was louder than noise. And so, after 3 years of talking, crying, fasting, and even trying girlfriend advice from YouTube, she came to a conclusion. If I can't beat Emmanuel, maybe it is time to play his game. But I will play it smarter. You see, Abigail wasn't foolish. She had always known about the calls he didn't take at home, the brotherly hugs he gave to certain women at church, and the extra business trips he claimed to attend that involved no meetings, only to come back with hotel receipts and perfume that smelled like sin. But instead of packing her bags or creating drama on social media, Abigail sat down with a glass of wine one evening and smiled to herself. Okay, let's see how far this rabbit can run when he falls into his own trap. She didn't want revenge for pain's sake. No, she wanted something deeper, a lesson, something like a life reset or a holy slap without using her hands. That was when she called her maternal cousin Eloho. Eloho was a young, stunning and beautiful girl, sharp as broken glass. But more than that, she had sense and loyalty. Abigail called her one afternoon. "Cousin, I need your help," Abigail pleaded. "Talk to me." "It's my husband." Eloho raised a brow. Say no more. What do you need?" Abigail explained her plan. Eloho laughed so hard that she nearly choked. "Wait, you want me to catfish your husband in real life?" "Not catfish, just be friendly, Let him chase while you lead him, but make sure he pays for the fuel." Eloho shook her head. "Abigail, you are a very dangerous woman." "I wasn't," Abigail protested, "but I married a man who brought the devil into our home, and now I need him to meet a hotter devil outside." And so the plan began. Eloho would have to move to town and start working in a boutique close to Emmanuel's office. As typical of Mr. Extra, he would jump straight into the trap, thinking he was the hunter, not knowing he was the meat on the table. It was a Thursday evening and Emmanuel had just closed from work. He was feeling himself as usual with his fresh haircut, shiny shoe and his shirt 2 buttons open, just enough to show chest hair he believed made him look like a Nollywood star. He stopped by his favorite suya spot when he heard a soft voice behind him say, "Oh no, my bag!" Emmanuel turned and there she was, Eloho, in full form. Her lips were like soft buttered yam. Her eyes sparkled like car headlamps at night, and her waist could start a traffic jam. She bent to pick her purse, and Emmanuel, like a finished man he was, bent too. Their hands touched, and background music played in his head. Maybe it was just a passing moment, but in Emmanuel's mind, the universe had pressed slow motion. "Are you okay?" he asked as he helped her up like a Bollywood gentleman. "Yes, thank you very much," she smiled. "I am Emmanuel," he said, adjusting his collar that didn't even need adjustment. "Eloho, nice to meet you, sir." Please call me Ima. Eloho smiled. Hook, line, and brother was sinking so easy than she even thought. The next few days moved like a badly written romance movie. Emmanuel started passing the same route more often. He even started dressing extra fresh and using that expensive perfume he kept for board meetings. Except that now, the meeting was between him and temptation, and he didn't want to flee. He bought Eloho lunch the next time he saw her and then proceeded to take her out to dinner. Then, one day, he sent her 100,000 naira for small self-care. She replied with, "God bless you, Papi." Now, that Papi unlocked a new level in his brain, the mumu side. Efe, his best friend, noticed the unusual change. "Guy, this your new glow. Who be the babe now?" Emmanuel giggled like a schoolboy. "It's just someone I'm mentoring, nothing serious." Efe eyed him. "Mentoring or manufacturing problems for yourself?" Emmanuel laughed. "You won't understand. No wahala now. But when she mentors your account dry, don't cry near me." However, Emmanuel called him bluff. He was deep in the sugar that Eloho promised. Eloho would giggle and play shy while he would open his whole soul and bank accounts. Meanwhile, Abigail was watching from the background, sipping water and minding her business like a queen watching her trap work. And Eloho kept the act tight. She never slept with him and never let it get too far. But she milked every wallet zipping moment. Was it a new phone? He bought it for her. New shoes? Done. And spa treatment? Of course. Emmanuel did all these things effortlessly because, to him, he felt alive again. He once told Eloho, "I don't feel this young at home anymore." She smiled and replied, "Maybe your home is too mature for the boy inside you." And he laughed like a man dancing on his own grave. But what he did not know was that the countdown had already begun, because while Emmanuel was falling in love, Eloho was falling into someone else's arms, and the big reveal would land like thunder. For weeks, the act went on, and Emmanuel walked around like a man high on love. He even bought matching hoodies for him and Eloho with king and queen printed on them. Meanwhile, Eloho kept her face sweet, and her bank alerts came in sweeter. She would captivate him with her puppy eyes and say, "You understand me so well. You are not like the other boys out there." Emmanuel would puff his chest and say, "I am a man, not a boy. That is why you deserve to be spoiled." And about being spoiled, oh, Eloho was being spoiled like banana in a hot car. He paid for her online business class, transferred 500,000 naira for her rent, bought her a new phone, and still asked, "Do you need a new number too?" At home, Abigail noticed the sudden kindness and spontaneity in him, but she kept calm. She simply sent a message to Eloho, "You can start wrapping up. It is time." Meanwhile, Eloho was busy planning her big wedding, not to Emmanuel, but to Edward, her real love, her actual man, and the one who didn't call her investments. She told Edward everything. "Babe, this man is married to my cousin's sister, but he is proud and foolish. I am only milking him and sending the money to our wedding planner." Edward shook his head. "So, this is your cousin's plan?" Eloho smiled. "Yes, revenge with style." They both laughed, and then the big move came. One day, Eloho told Emmanuel, "I'll be traveling for a while. My cousin in Canada is getting married, and I need to go help her." Emmanuel was surprised. "Canada, care?" Anyway, let me book your flight. She smiled. Thanks, Papi, you are my angel. Emmanuel transferred 700,000 naira that night with the message, go and shine like the queen you are. Represent me well in Canada. Well, Eloho used that same money to pay for her wedding venue. And then 1 week later, Emmanuel was in the living room when the courier knocked. Delivery from Mr. Emmanuel Essien. He opened the package. It was a wedding invitation decorated in gold and cream. Who invited me for wedding? He read it casually at first, then again, and then he read it slowly. Bride, Eloho Ogogore. Groom, Edward Chukwuma. Date, next month. Venue, the same hotel he once took her for mentorship. His mouth hung open and his chest started drumming. He flipped the card back and forth like it would change. He ran to the mirror and looked at himself. Am I mad? He walked around the house, sat down, and then stood up, and then sat down again. Am I dreaming? No now. Wait, she used my money to marry another man? This insult was spiritual. He opened WhatsApp and checked her number, but he had been blocked. Her Instagram was gone. He went to Snapchat. Well, she already snapped out of his life. He screamed, but no sound came out. He went to the kitchen and opened the fridge, stared into it, and then closed it. There was nothing inside there for heartbreak. That night, he couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling silently and kept saying in his mind, I have suffered. But the worst part was he couldn't even cry out loud, because how do you tell your wife that your side chick used your own money to do owambe for another man? In his confusion, Emmanuel forgot the invitation card in the kitchen beside the blender. And so, the next morning, as Abigail went to make breakfast, she spotted it. She picked it up, opened it slowly, and when she saw the bride's name, her lips curled into the softest, most satisfying smile of the year. She nodded slowly and said, "Game over." Just then, Emmanuel walked in with his usual fake confidence. His eyes were red. He didn't sleep a bit at night as his heart was broken into tiny pieces. Pieces he couldn't even sweep up because of shame. Abigail turned to him, holding up the card like a judge revealing the final verdict. "Did you see this?" she asked calmly. He blinked and his soul jumped, but he kept his face flat like a well-fried akara. What is that?" Abigail tilted her head and smiled. "Wedding invitation. A girl named Eloho is getting married. But wait, isn't that the same name as your mentee?" Bam! That was a direct hit. Emmanuel froze. His heart skipped 3 times and the beat changed. He scratched his head as if there was a mosquito living there. "Oh, really? I didn't know. I mean, maybe it's a different Eloho." But even he didn't believe his own lie. Abigail just nodded slowly, walked past him and said over her shoulder, "Life is full of surprises, Sha." Emmanuel stood there sweating like a goat in a pepper soup pot. He wanted to scream. He wanted to cry. He wanted to enter the ground like Wi-Fi signal in a village. But he couldn't. That night, he lay in bed beside Abigail, facing the wall like a stubborn child. His soul was dancing azonto in sadness. Abigail turned and asked, "You've been quiet lately, Ima. Is everything okay?" He nodded, still facing the wall. "I am fine." "Do you have any trouble at work?" No, everything is going smoothly." smoothly into the gutter, Emmanuel said in his mind. Abigail reached out and touched his back gently. You know you can talk to me, right? He wanted to say it. He wanted to scream. My side chick has finished me. But shame held his throat like tight jeans on a fat man. So he simply said, I'm just tired, long week. Abigail nodded and turned off the lights. But in the dark, Emmanuel's eyes were wide open, staring at nothing but seeing everything. His side chick had upgraded. His money had married another man, and his wife was sleeping like a peaceful queen. In the days that followed, Emmanuel fully entered his silent morning phase, and he tiptoed around the house like a tenant that owed rent. He wasn't just heartbroken, he was spiritually embarrassed. The kind of disgrace that hit him at 2 a.m. as he stared at the ceiling, replaying every single transfer he made to a law like a horror movie was epic. Unfortunately, Emmanuel carried his pain like a secret unwanted pregnancy. He even stopped going to work because of shame. He couldn't eat nor sleep, and he was fast losing weight, but he couldn't complain because if he opened his mouth, the first question would be, complain about what exactly? So only him and his shadow knew his diagnosis. When he resumed work back, he stopped going near the suya spot where he first met Eloho. Even the suya man noticed. Oga, long time. Emmanuel just nodded, pretending he didn't hear. Abigail, of course, kept up with the act. She was smiling, cooking and kissing his forehead, but beneath that gentle voice and smile was a woman enjoying every second of his internal chaos. She watched him quietly. She knew he wanted to talk, and she could smell the struggle in his spirit, but she wouldn't help him out of this one. There would be no shortcuts so that the lesson would boil and sink properly. Later that evening, he opened Instagram again, but it was a big mistake because Eloho's pre-wedding photo shoot was trending. She was wearing matching outfits with her fiancé. He zoomed into her face. This same girl told me she had no family, that I was the only man she ever trusted and loved. His phone nearly fell from his hand as his chest heaved heavily. He stood up, walked to the window and shook his head. I am finished. I am absolutely finished. And in that moment, he felt not just heartbreak, but a shift. He realized that the streets had finally outplayed him. And worst of all, he couldn't even scream. He couldn't cry. He couldn't snitch. Neither could he post cryptic quotes online because he was married, and the side chick that played him was now cruising publicly with her real man. So he suffered quietly, deeply and respectfully because a man who cheats in private has no right to cry in public. After mourning for weeks, Emmanuel finally summoned the courage to text Efe, his friend. Guy, you dey house? Yes, wetin happen? I need to see you. I dey go mad. Efe didn't ask questions. He knew something was wrong. He had been watching Emmanuel slowly rot in silence for weeks. The once proud peacock was now walking around like a chicken that lost its feathers, and he wouldn't even say why. They met at their regular spot, Baba Shola's place, a private bar. Efe looked at him and shook his head. Guy, what is going on now? You look like the before picture in a poverty campaign. Emmanuel didn't even have the energy to respond. He just sat down and said, Eloho used my money to marry another man. Efe's mouth dropped open. She what? She invited me to the wedding with the card I paid for. There was a moment of silence, and then Efe exploded. Ayebo, Ayeba, this is not heartbreak, oh. This This is premium full option factory fitted disgrace. Emmanuel groaned. Don't laugh, abeg. Guy, you are now a bona fide wedding sponsor and you can't even attend the wedding. Efe laughed so hard that the table shook. Oh, so that is why you have been looking like roasted corn. It took you this long to realize that side chicks are more dangerous than area boys. Emmanuel sighed sadly. I messed up. No, you didn't just mess up. You enrolled in the University of Foolishness and graduated with first class. Efe continued, this time with less sarcasm and more truth. Mr. Extra, you had a wife who warned you. You had peace at home. You had a soft landing, but no, you wanted fire. You saw red flags and said, wow, nice decoration, bring it on. Emmanuel couldn't hold back his tears at this point. I thought I was in control. Efe scoffed. Control? Bro, you were a remote and that girl pressed you very well. Emmanuel buried his face in his hands. Efe patted his back and added, but hey, lesson learned, yeah? Sharp lesson. Good. Now go back home and hug Abigail, wash plates, rub her back and watch her boring shows with her. No more sugarberry, no more mentorship. From now on, you are a one-woman soldier. Oya swear. Emmanuel raised his hands weakly. I swear, side chick life don't end. Efe smiled. Welcome back to your senses. Let this pain stay with you anytime your eyes start misbehaving. And with that, Emmanuel stood up, still ashamed, still broke, but a little wiser, and he officially retired from the Ministry of Side Affairs. 3 months had passed since the wedding invitation that shook his soul, and Emmanuel was no longer the same man. There were no more secret phones, no more late night meetings, and no more using mentorship as a cover for philandering. He had become what some men feared, a faithful husband. He deleted all his old contacts and blocked the girls, and just like that, Emmanuel turned into an intentional husband and became the sweetest and loving man to Abigail. He was no longer Mr. Extra, but now Mr. Extremely Careful. As for the lessons, Emmanuel learned a bunch of them. First was that side chicks came with side effects. Also, peace at home was worth more than temporary pleasure outside. And most importantly, he learned that not every woman cries or shouts. Some of them just plan your downfall while smiling. Thank you for watching the story. Kindly share your thoughts about the story with me in the comment section. What lessons did you learn from the story? And also, what did you love about the story? Share the story out with your loved ones and give the story a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel if you've not done so by now. Until I bring another story your way. Bye!